Wisdom of the Body, a New Theory of Medicine, a presentation by Professor Gershom Zaitchik, Faculty of Medicine, Hebrew University of Jerusalem. I present these introductory chapters to the new theory. Chapter 1, Wisdom of the Body, Complexity. Chapter 2, Streaming Organism. And Chapter 3, Wisdom of the Body in the Clinic. Claude Bernard was a French physiologist. He originated the term milieu intérieur and the associated concept of homeostasis, the stability of the internal environment in the condition or is the condition of free and independent life. Definition: homeostasis, internal stability of processes in the body. The word homeostasis was coined by Walter Bradford Cannon. In the beginning of the last century, Starling presented an important lecture which is cited all over medicine, and it is called The Wisdom of the Body. We may distinguish between two kinds of processes that operate in the body, explained and unexplained. The unexplained processes in the physiology were defined by Starling and Cannon as wisdom of the body. This concept is applied here for a rational treatment of processes involved in health and disease. Warp is an attribute of life organism. So here's a representation of the complexity of the warp. So here you have many processes, and warp is a set of processes and the mutual control. That's a they control each other. Warp set of processes and the mutual control. The unit process or the atom of the processes is called process, and it has an origin and a periphery, and in this process matter and energy are flowing from origin to periphery and interact with all other processes. And what's important to realize that the turnover of warp is oriented always with some origin into some periphery, as we shall see immediately. Each process streams from origin to periphery. We are using for this phenomenon the term homeostasis, but it is not appropriate because homeostasis is a static state, and we are talking about homeoresis, which is a steady flow. All these processes are streaming, flowing, and their interaction is a kind of interacting streaming. Nevertheless, the entire complexity maintains always the same appearance. It is a streaming open system with an in and out, and there is a fundamental law about this open system that in equals to out. Otherwise it could not fulfill the demand of homeoresis. So here you have the elementary process, and here you have the streaming open system, which I called wisdom of the body. Example of another open system, which is a candle. You have an input, you have an output, but it's only one process. Nothing interacts here in terms of processes. There are chemical interactions, but the whole thing here is one process, open process, and it maintains also the fundamental law: input is equal to output, because for a short period of times this flame appears to us as constant. So the chapter 2 is a short introduction to the streaming organism. Oh, it is a theory about tissue structure. Tissues are composed of units called tissue proliferative units, and these TPUs are of all tissues have the same kinetic structure. And here is an example of one tissue unit. At the bottom we have a stem cell, which and all these cells are its progeny, and as the stem cell divides, these cells move upward toward the periphery, and actually these cells will die at the periphery, and this streaming upward is manifested by differentiation, and there are other processes which here you have a feedback, etc., etc. But notice that similarity, the analogy between what we have just said about process and the tissue proliferative unit, because it reproduces the idea of the basic process of the entire complexity. And mind you, also our histopathology is extremely complex, but you can understand it by studying the tissue proliferative unit. Now we arrive to the third chapter, which is only the main reason why such a theory is vital for medicine. Wisdom of the body is a theory that provides simple framework for medically relevant concepts in our culture. Currently, medicine is extremely complex and complicated, and this WOB in the clinic provides a simple representation and explanation, and here you have the introduction. The elementary unit or atom of this framework is me. I therefore start with the question, who am I? Two entities operate in our body, the conscious, which I called mind, and the non-conscious, called WOB. So actually the entire complexity which I described in chapter 1 is in my non-conscious, but also my consciousness is very complex. So the mind is all that I am aware in me, like my thoughts, feelings, and will. Wisdom of the body is all which I am non-conscious of. I am less concerned with their nature and mainly interested in their communication. It is striking that medicine is interested mainly in the conscious and less in the non-conscious, yet the non-conscious keeps us alive and heals our self-healing diseases. Medicine does not provide any explanation how non-conscious heals some diseases and keeps us alive. I distinguish between two kinds of explanation. First person explanation means how I understand my mind and WOB, known as I point of view. Third person explanation is what medicine has to say about mind and WOB. WOB theory is also a way how to simplify medical complexity. The statement, I am less concerned with the nature of mind and WOB and mainly interested in their communication, is my way to simplify medical complexity, because the communication between mind and WOB is what I feel. So let's start with some definition. Whatever I imagine is stored in memory. So we start with mind, and you see the mind is now, there are two compartments, mind and unconscious WOB, And these are separated by a filter which is called verge, and what also we have two kinds of sense input. Senses which directly are input into the verb and are unconscious, and senses which are input into my mind, and I receive the sensor, and then I communicate this experience with the verb by the way of an image, which I shall explain immediately. So mind, short-term memory, which integrates the now experience into an image. Long-term memory stores images of the past. Both are serial memories. So this is a mind. Verb memory is parallel. It is embedded in its processes. Mind and verb are separated by a one-way filter called verge. It lets mind images into verb and inhibits any message from verb to mind. After all, verb is non-conscious. Two channels communicate sense information. Conscious senses are connected to short-term memory. They include also verb messages which become conscious. Non-conscious channel connects senses directly to verb. Mind received information from its surrounding and also from the body. All information is converted into images. Any information received by verb restructures processes. Thought is an image, and image is the only currency. The mind is consciousness. Any image or thought modulates verb function. So, conclusion. I introduced the 3 chapters of this theory: streaming open system, histopathological unit, and this verb in the clinic, which is actually the most important part of this theory, because it simplifies the treatment of the patient, and therefore it is so vital. And all these presentation about this aspect, like histopathology, cancer, histology, are now in the YouTube, and you can read them, but here you have a kind of summary what you can find then, and I shall continue and expand about these ideas in future presentation. So next you are invited to listen Wisdom of the Body playlist introduction, a new theory. Enjoy it.